I had a great chat with Jane, partner, lawyer, and co-founder of Umbrella Family Law, which was founded in 2018. We chatted about the firm's origin story, finding her business partner, starting at the kitchen table to their South Melbourne office in March 2020. Oh gosh, we all can remember that month. The firm handled various aspects of family law: parenting, negotiation, property settlement, prenup, and more. We zoomed into their pet custody work this time, but I encourage you to visit their Instagram or website on the show notes just to know more about what they are about. It's not about people having problems in relationships per se. It's about getting informed in general. You don't need to be in trouble to learn new things. Please note, information mentioned in this episode is not legal advice. If you need it, please reach out to Jane and her friendly team. And let's meet Jane. Today we have Jane with me. How are you?
I'm great, Arthur. Great to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm in your really lovely South Melbourne office. Now, where we are, you might see it on top of us, is Umbrella Family Law. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is?
Fabulous. So we founded Umbrella Family Law in 2018. We're called Umbrella, which people often ask, because when we were choosing names for the business, it was a very rainy day. I saw lots of people with umbrellas and thought, ooh, we like to shelter people from the storm. And the storm that we're sheltering people from is typically separation. So as family lawyers, principally we work with people who are separating to help them start their new life, to work through the legal, emotional and practical issues that arise from separation. We also do prenuptial agreements if people are entering into a relationship and want to protect their assets in the event that they separate.
Before we dive deep into Umbrella Family Law, let's get to know Jane a little bit.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about like your background, your professional background, your study and such as.
Sure. Okay. So when I was at school, I knew that I wanted to do something that was to do with people, and I was good at humanities and hated maths. So if you were good at humanities in my day, one of the things that you thought about doing was law. And I used to think, oh, maybe I wanted to be a barrister. Anyway, so I started law school. Didn't particularly love studying law, but stuck with it because I was always a sticker. Did my articles in a very generalist firm with a fabulous guy called David Whiting, who still to this day speaks on 774 every Tuesday morning and is like the king of generalism in my view. But I knew I always wanted to do family law. So I moved around a bit until I ended up at an all-family law firm where I was for 15 years. Then I met Eve, my now business partner, and so in 2018 we started Umbrella to do things our way.
So actually, I want you to elaborate that a little bit, because it's starting your own business at
So
practice.
great. Yes.
I would love to hear a little bit about that, because there is a transition from working for someone else to a point that you're working for you and your
Yes.
like business partner working
Absolutely.
together.
So exciting. So Eve came over from the UK where she'd been working as a lawyer, and she came to work at my last firm as sort of my assistant. She wasn't qualified here as a lawyer at that time, but it became very clear that we were very simpatico and we had the same approach to dealing with clients in a really holistic and supportive way. And so we decided that we would go out and do our own thing. So that's what we did in 2018, with a real strong desire to help people with issues beyond the legal and to deal with them as a whole person and make sure that they're set up in the right way, practically, emotionally, and financially, as well as legally. And so we started on our kitchen tables, which we did for kind of a couple of years. And then in March 2020, we signed the lease for this beautiful building that we're now in.
Wait, March 2020?
Yes, Arthur, you've connected the dots. So we were so excited. I think it was like about the 2nd of March we moved in. We're like, this is fantastic. And then, of course, we didn't see the office really for 2 years because we were working from home.
Oh, no.
So we had furniture that had arrived, which was still not assembled, and et cetera, just these beautiful bricks and mortar waiting for us. That's the right face, because it was very stressful and sad. But so during COVID, we were able to, of course, keep working. And because sadly, a lot of people were separating that time, we employed some people. You know, it was funny. After the first lawyer that we hired, we'd only interviewed her on Zoom. It was exciting to kind of see each other in the flesh because we hadn't done that, but we'd shared all of that lockdown experience, building up a work culture, as we all had to online over that time. So we built up and up to where we are today, where there are 16 of us, and now our office is full and humming most of the time, which is really exciting.
It's amazing. I think one of the amazing thing is that I got hired for my day job during lockdown. So my interview and all of that was on Zoom. Actually, a side story is that
Love.
my the last interview with the faculty GM, and I just moved. And I couldn't find my webcam. Like I was like, I found my toaster, I found my shirt, I found my cutlery, but then I found it, and then I set up a nice little like home office corner that looked quite lovely and reasonable. After the interview, I was like, okay, I feel good about this. And then I just look around the room. I was like, oh gosh, I look like I've been robbed. It's like, oh shit. But that was something really interesting, because meeting people on Zoom and starting rapport with them is difficult. But what was really fantastic is that when you go and meet them in person again, you have that first impression.
Yes,
which most people
true.
Don't get.
Yes.
It's like, which is, because in a way, like, look, I mean, it's like it happened. Like the pandemic happened. No one can change time, and no one can go back and, change history. So, but then having that chance to like build a bond before you meet with one another, and then having that other chance to keep developing after the 100th lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we still have that with our clients, because a lot of our clients, I think that's one of the really positives to come out of lockdown in Melbourne, don't you, is that people are more accustomed now to not having to see people in person. And it's often helpful for our clients to know that they can just speak to us on the phone or Zoom, and they don't have to trek across town. Like once upon a time, pre-2020, if you were seeing your lawyer, you would assume you had to be in their office.
Yep.
But it's fantastic. So in fact, today I saw a client who I've been working with for nearly a year who I'd never met in person. That same happened last week. And it was kind of, because as you said, it's like meeting again for the first time.
Yes.
So it's kind of, in a way, it's a kind of like a little bonus.
It is. And I mean, like, let's not sugarcoat it. For many people, it would be one of the most difficult time in their life.
Absolutely. Sometimes the most difficult. Absolutely.
Oh, yes. And so having that capability on Zoom might have been a blessing in disguise.
Definitely a blessing for some people. Some people like to come in because they like to sort of make the eye contact and see us in person. But for many people, absolutely. And also busy parents, for example, often mums, but sometimes dads, don't have to then juggle school time and things as much, because they can just lock themselves in a room and put the laptop up, as opposed to having to drive across town. It's much more convenient for people. And it sometimes makes things a bit more succinct too, and can remove the emotion, which for some people is good. But that said, if people are kind of feeling that they need that extra support, we're still able to do that and develop that rapport over Zoom. I think particularly because we're all used to doing it so much more now, aren't we?
Yeah,
it's not like you're dealing with foreign technology.
No,
you're used to it.
It's something that the entire population learned to.
They did. Yes.
They just learned to how to do it. And in a way, I mean, it's horrible that you got the lease of the place in the month.
The very month.
Yes. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, perfect fit. Fuck. But it's a bit of like, maybe it's meant to be here.
Absolutely, maybe it is what it is. And also, I mean, we love this space and we've enjoyed being in it, and here we still are 4 years later, and it felt like home. And it was kind of, maybe psychologically in some ways, it was still a bit of a benchmark for us that we've made it. We know it's there, we're just not in it. But it was great. And so, we have continued to build up to the team that we have now, and it is lovely. It was lovely as more and more people started to come on board, seeing the office kind of being what we had envisaged in terms of being this really just lovely hub for people. And often people comment on the space that it sort of has a bit of a homey sort of feel, while also feeling professional, which is exactly what we've been going for, which is lovely.
It's really fantastic, because you guys are in South Melbourne. So we're in South Melbourne, and we are in kind of like a crossover of residential and office area.
Yes, so and we're in this gorgeous, sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
Because I was just going to plug our gorgeous office, which is this beautiful double-fronted, double-story terrace house on the corner opposite Albert Park. Like, I mean, really, you couldn't get better, could you? Beautiful. It's a lovely spot to be.
And the address is?
The address is 142 to 144 Albert Road, South Melbourne. But you wouldn't just rock up. You'd make an appointment.
No, yeah, first. Exactly. You will need to make an appointment. But actually, speaking of that, What is a typical first interaction
Yes,
like
excellent
with
question.
a
So
legal
often
professional?
people will have found us because they were referred to us, a lot of people were referred to us via friends or via professionals. People typically will email, and then one of our lovely team, usually one of our lovely Jesses, of which we have two, will ring and make an initial consultation. We have an initial fixed fee consultation where the client will communicate with us via one of the methods that we've discussed before, Zoom or in person, where we will then talk about all of the issues that are concerning to them. So typically, I will start with saying to people, tell me your story. Usually, they will have filled out an online intake form, so we've got kind of the black and white. But when you're talking about the ending of a relationship, it's not black and white.
It's never black and white.
Yes, so we have clients who are at varying points on the separation journey that come to us, and we provide them all with that same level of care and understanding of the fact that what they're going through is a major life decision.
I think one of the important, none of us are single digit. We would have experienced a certain level of relationship ending.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of life. It is part of
Absolutely.
life. So we're I think taking the stigma of separation and the negativity feeling out of it, and just having a professional to talk to and figure out what you could do to set yourself up for the future.
Absolutely. And we have a really broad range of personalities of our team as well, which I love, because whoever you are, whatever you're bringing, whatever your background, whatever's important to you, we're going to have somebody that's going to be a match for you, which I love.
And all of your team are allies to the community.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important.
Everybody is welcome through our door, whoever you are, whatever your relationship has been, whoever it's been with, come. Everybody's welcome here. Absolutely.
I think this is one of the main reasons that I'm very interested in interviewing you and hopefully bring some awareness of that. Because the thing is, just like different professionals that like a financial advisor or a counselor or such as, you want to know that being LGBT plus, you need to know that you are with people who are from your community or allies of the community, because you don't know that if you go to a professional service that you don't feel safe in, then you're not getting any benefit from it.
No, and for us, that element of client safety for everybody is super important. It's interesting because I, a few years ago, did training with the Equality Network about working with the LGBTQI plus community, and it really opened my. I mean, I had always thought of myself as pretty broad-minded. I certainly wasn't closed, but it really opened my eyes to many of the complexities of the community and to the absolute importance of just knowing that you're not going to have a raised eyebrow, that you're going to be somewhere that is completely safe, that when you write down partner's name and you're a guy and it's a guy or whatever it might be, there's not going to be a kind of...
We're living in a day and age that there's so much information, but not a lot of knowledge or intellect out there, to a point that people are dividing themselves or subdividing themselves or separating themselves from a bigger community. So I think it is important to have that allyship, to acknowledge each other. Yes, we are different. We're all a little bit different, but then that's why someone like at Umbrella, that you can help the client to match with the most suitable legal professionals
that's
in
right.
here.
Exactly. So for example, and I talk about him too much, but we've got Jonty, our mosh pit loving, nail polish wearing, fabulous kind of super young lawyer who gets along and has a really varied friendship group and a really broad client base. And then we've got through to people who are probably more traditionally conservative and kind of everything in between. And it's lovely because, and also some people who are really good at dealing with the emotional side, some people who are really good at dealing with the complex legal things that you would expect of lawyers. You know, it's lovely to have a variety of personality and skill, and to have the components of the team working with everybody so that you're getting the best out of all of the professionals and therefore bringing the best out of the client as well. And again, for us, I mean, because the law is fundamentally, certainly from a property and children's perspective, it's the same for same-sex relationships as it is for different sex relationships. See, sometimes I get the terminology wrong. This is the thing, there's so much terminology, isn't there?
Well, we can always say the spectrum of different ways that relationship are presented.
Lovely.
It could be same gender, it could be different genders, or polyamorous.
Absolutely.
Something
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
So from our perspective, whichever of whatever category it is, whatever the relationship has looked like, we treat it in the same way when it's broken down. And the people who are experiencing the relationship breakdown are going through the same range of emotions, no matter who it is that they've been in the relationship with. Still feels the same. Sometimes it's liberating and sometimes it's gut wrenching, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what brought about the ending of the relationship.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I really appreciate that not only you guys are trained lawyers, legal practitioners, but also you guys are trained by the network and understanding the diversity and the nuance of all of that space.
Yes.
Now, after the break, I am going to deep dive with Jane with one of the topics. So please stay with us, and we have some messages from the other OG supporters of the podcast. Welcome back, and welcome back, Jane.
Still great to be here, Arthur.
Yes. Well, now, thank you for sharing that origin story. I think it's very important, and it's wonderful that in the space of 4 years, you have like you grew your team so much, and now you have a big team. You also have a big scope of work. That can you share a little bit about what is family law?
Great question also, because sometimes people think it's anything to do with the family and they want to complain about their parents or something, and typically it's not that. Really what family law is it's kind of separation law fundamentally, which is that we work with people who have separated to help them do things like divide their assets, work out the time that they'll spend with their children, look at spousal maintenance and child support, those sorts of issues. If they have pets, many of our lawyers are trained in pet custody, so we can deal with that as part of a property settlement. And as I mentioned before, we also deal with people who are wanting to enter a relationship. As people get into relationships when they're older, or maybe second relationships, etc., they might have more assets to protect. So we can help talk to them about, well, in the event that you separated from this person that you now love a lot, this is the way that you could structure things so that you take out what you consider to be a fair asset pool and take out perhaps the assets that you brought in. Yeah.
Now, something caught my ear a little bit. Pets.
Yes.
It's like it's a big part in many people's life. I'm a dog lover, but I don't have a dog because I'll never leave the home. But yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about this topic? I'm thrown. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So interestingly, currently, but the law is maybe going to change, but currently in Australia, animals are treated like any other chattel. So you might be talking about the dining table, you might be talking about the fridge, you might be talking about the dog. They're kind of just generally part of property. But because so many of us are dog lovers, a couple of years ago we did training with an international expert on pet custody, this woman called Karis Naft. And what she does, her background is that she's a dog and animal trainer. And she helped us to think about issues that the law won't necessarily take into account, but that pet owners should be mindful of when they're working out what's going to be in the best interests of their pet post-separation.
Oh.
So it's not necessarily, just like the family law is based when it comes to kids matters on looking at what will be in the best interest of the child, although the law doesn't look at what will be in the best interest of the pet, really the pet owner should think about, well, I might think that I want my little Fido to be with me, but what's actually going to work for Fido? So there are considerations like, for example, the breed of dog is relevant. Whether the dog has any trauma, whether it's been maybe a rescue dog, and so there's a fear of abandonment and some of these sorts of issues. And we learned that although, for example, a lot of pet owners think they want to share their pets, which is sometimes a big thing because everybody wants to have their little, week about with Fido, that's going to be really confusing for the dog.
Yeah. Because
they're not going to know who's coming and going and who they're seeing. They don't have a concept of time. So whereas sometimes with a child, you can help them work through a calendar, this number of days until you see mummy or whatever it is, the dog's never going to get it. So that's one thing to consider is, could they cope with that kind of week about arrangement? Sometimes there's things to consider like who actually is equipped, and we think about this with parents, but same with pets, who actually is equipped to look after the dog. Karis, our trainer, was telling us about a family where there'd been a dog who'd been really compliant and a good dog, and he went with mum and the kids post-separation, and this was a heterosexual relationship, and so dad was off living by himself. Apparently the dog went very feral, was biting, going crazy, destroying the couch, like really mucking up. And that's because it was a big dog who was used to getting a lot of exercise. And dad was the one who would every day take the dog on a really long run, get his energy out, and that stopped him from being kind of a bit of a menace in the house. So this family had been to see Karis and spoke to her about it and discussed the fact that this is what's wrong with the animal. Is actually, it's not that it's missing dad necessarily, but it's not getting exercise. So that family then worked out that for this pet, they needed to spend more time with the other parents, so they were getting what they needed. So all of this to say that we kind of take this approach generally with our clients, which is about looking at what's important to them and what are their interests and goals. But with pet custody, we really encourage people to start to think about that. And then if we have, because it's not, the law doesn't work that way yet, if we have a receptive and perceptive lawyer on the other side and a pet parent on the other side who's prepared to open their minds to these things, it can be a really powerful tool for helping people negotiate better arrangements for their pets.
Very true, because human would have a concept of separation.
Yes.
The dog or the pet would not know, because it's actually that's one of the things that I noticed even during COVID, when everyone's adopting a pet or something like that, and then when everyone's going back to work 3 days a week, 5 days,
anxiety.
Absolutely. Yes. And then you can't just talk to sit your dog down and just say, "Mummy's going to work now." They would not understand, because
although I did say that to my dogs this morning when I was leaving the house, but they did not understand. No, they did not.
No, but they were still very happy to see you when you got back. Yeah. They will be like, "What the fuck?" I'm presuming. I'm not a dog,
Arthur.
But then it's like I'm not a dog, but then I would have been.
Yes, that's right.
Really,
exactly.
last time I checked. Okay.
So yes, it's about helping people to think about their arrangements for their pets differently. And there's actually a bill before Parliament at the moment, which is around trying to start to move more towards the concept of thinking about the needs of the pet, and also thinking about the emotional attachment of the person and the pet, particularly around family violence issues, for example. Because that's another factor that hasn't really been taken into account, is what does this pet mean to me? It's been more about who paid the money for it, whose name is it registered in, really clinical stuff that is not, owning a pet is not clinical. It's all about the heart.
It really is. It really is. And the other thing is, many people, not only LGBT plus community, but many millennials are not having children, but instead they're having pets.
Yes.
And they are playing a bigger role
Absolutely, yes.
years ago. So
that's exactly right. It's not just something that's kind of to the side of the family.
It's not a
often
table.
At the heart of the
It's not a table.
It's often now the heart of the family.
Oh yeah.
Very much so. And therefore I think the law is adapting to that, but also we were the first firm in Australia to have had all of our lawyers trained in pet custody, because again, we're a bunch of pet lovers and we understand the importance to people of wanting to deal with that. And the other factor is that often, because it is such an emotive issue, particularly when there aren't children, it's really important to deal with it early in the separation as well, because you can imagine otherwise people use it very much as a bargaining and blackmail tool, which is really sad, because often somebody will know. I've got a couple of cases like that at the moment, actually, where the ex knows that it's really important to one partner. So they kind of fight and fight and fight and fight.
For
just
the sake
sometimes
of fighting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those things that it's like, I think that relationship happens on different levels. When it is a family unit of, for example, a couple and a child, or couple and a pet, a child pet, whatever combination that's actually more than one person. And of course, that the relationship that might involve in the separation are two people, but then there's also all of the
that's exactly
the
right.
extension to that.
Yes.
And so now I'm kind of impromptu question. So this
Love
one
it.
is so I wonder that in the family law space, what is it like with the LGBT plus community? Because there are so many different ways that a relationship can present.
Yes.
And now that with marriage equality, a year before you start setting umbrella up.
Yes, yes.
The perfect timing. And can you share a little bit of like your point of view or some nuance when it comes to, for example, same-sex relationships?
So from a property settlement perspective, there's really certainly from the legal perspective, there's no difference because relationships, whether they're de facto or marriages and whoever they're between, are treated the same. When we're looking at how we're dividing property, we look at what there is in either person's name. We look at how it got there. We then look at current circumstances and future needs, things like age, state of health, income and earning capacity, level of care of children. Those are the things that are taken into account when we're dividing property, no matter who the couple has been. When it comes
that's what
to,
we fought for, like, that equality, which
that's
is
exactly right. So welcome aboard. That's the way we're all treated.
well, look, I mean, it's all part of life.
Absolutely.
It's all part of life.
So therefore, no difference in treatment. Same thing applies with respect to level of care of children. It's always around the best interest of the child. So it doesn't matter whose egg it was, whose sperm it was, how the children came to be. You're still got to look at what are the needs of the child, who are they primarily bonded to, what has the lifestyle been before in terms of who's been the primary carer, etc.
And who's more capable, or
correct,
what is,
absolutely,
like, measure
absolutely.
everyone's capability.
What do these kids' needs? What are they used to? Who's there for them emotionally, practically, financially? Who's the person that's typically schlepped them to before and after school care or to school or extracurricular activities or whatever it is? So there's no difference. I mean, sometimes there's more instructions that we need to get and more nuances around perhaps birth parents or around surrogacy or international adoption and those sorts of components. But again, fundamentally, when you're looking at post-separation, the way that time should be spent between children and their parents, same, no matter who the parents have been.
Oh, it's about making the right decision
It's
for
about
either the pet or the child.
correct. Yeah. Yes, but at this stage, luckily, the law does realise that in relation to children, but not in relation to pets.
Well, back to pets a little bit again. So, you mentioned that there may be law coming through. What is that? Like, what?
So
how did that all happen?
There's been a lot of changes to the laws generally. There have been some changes recently around the way that we look at defining parenting, defining the time between parents and children. And then there's, as I said, also some potential changes coming up around dealing with pets, particularly in circumstances where there's been family violence. But it's still a bill at this stage, so we don't really know how it will play out.
So it might still be a bit of time before the law kicks in.
That's
so
right.
Until then,
we're still stuck with the pet being lumped with the fridge.
It's not like you can call the fridge and then it show up in front of you.
No, that's right. Although they are making smarter white goods these days, Arthur. So
when it comes to family law or in any situation that might require the legal professional, it's not going to be easy. It's not totally. And of course, that we talk about, like, family law can be about pet custody, can become about like where all the assets are, or prenup for people getting married and such as. Did I catch the idea of what family law is?
You did, except I just throw in the reminder about it's also very much around time with children post-separation too. Yes. But yes, you did. You nailed it, Arthur.
They're not the fridge.
They're not the fridge, no.
Oh, God. All right. Well, after this, we're going to go a lighter tone. I'm going to throw Jane a lot of different random questions, and hopefully she's not going to run away.
I'm excited.
And cut. Welcome back, and we are the last segment of this episode, Get Chatty About Your Local Businesses. We have Jane from Umbrella Family Law. Now, Jane, how are you feeling with this segment that we call Question in a Hat?
I'm feeling a little bit nervous and a little bit excited.
Well, it's a quick fire round. You can always skip.
Fantastic.
Or you can, we can always just drop into a different thing.
I'm excited.
And now, shall we just jump in?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What is one item that you couldn't live without?
Chocolate. Oh, yeah. In any form. I love chocolate.
Oh, milk or dark?
Could be either. Dark is better because you eat less of it. But then milk is better because you can't stop.
Well, I mean, I love dark chocolate because it's always good with wine.
Yes, I agree. Particularly red wine.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
What are you like outside of your work?
I am fun. Mind you, I'm sometimes fun inside work as well.
Oh, there you go.
And also obsessed with my dogs.
Well, that's another fun
Yeah.
trait. What is your favorite theme park?
I am so not a theme park person.
You're not the first person who answered that, actually. Which talent or skills would you like to wake up with tomorrow?
Speaking Italian would be fun.
Oh,
Such a beautiful language.
gosh, yes. And imagine the food.
Exactly. Imagine the food that you could articulately order. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I was talking to someone else that in the podcast, I think it was like 3 episodes ago. Imagine how fat I can get if I go travel.
Totally. Don't even think about it. Yes.
No. What is your most overused word or phrase?
I'm sure I have one. Probably.
Fuck off.
I do use that more than I should.
Woohoo! Oh,
I love that you're here for that, Arthur.
well. So
I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that.
There you go.
Because I
Thank you.
think any use of that is overuse, really.
Yes, they shouldn't be there in the first place.
That's right.
Name a job you do in the multiverse. So there's another version of Jane.
Oh.
If at some point in your past you went a different way.
Yes. I would have been a psychologist, which isn't very different.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But I love that side of my work. So
Oh.
definitely I would have been a psychologist.
So you take deep dive into
Yes.
Oh gosh.
All about the mind and the soul. Yeah.
It's quite good for you.
Yeah,
That's a
thank you.
personality trait. Yeah.
Yeah.
What inspires you on a Tuesday?
Actually, my team inspires me on a Tuesday because Tuesday is the day we have most people in the office.
Lovely.
So my business feels alive and humming on a Tuesday. So that's always a good day.
What is the biggest business lesson you learned from your career so far?
Be brave and trust yourself.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is the most unexpected expense you have when it comes to running a business?
These days, it's becoming less unexpected, but recruiters.
Oh.
For a long time over my career, everybody applied for jobs on Seek.
Yep.
Now nobody seems to. And so we've spent more money on recruiters than I used to. So for me, that's an unexpected expense, has been.
That is actually a very
And
unexpected
it's massive.
answer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
There you go. Oh, gee. What is one piece of advice that you received in the past that you would like to pass on to others in the community and allies?
Great question. I think this for me goes back to the other question about advice in business, but it's trust yourself.
Mm.
Listen to your own gut and don't be swayed by what you think others are thinking. Yeah.
Very. What is one biggest misconception about your area of work that you would like to break?
Ugh. That family lawyers are all mean and out for themselves, because we're not. A lot of us care deeply about our clients, and I think that's becoming a much more common way of acting in our profession. We're much more becoming a go-to person for solving a life problem rather than just a feral fighter. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, let's think about it this way. You need what, 5-6+ years, and including clinical placement or experience, and then you take years and years to get to this point. It's really difficult to not liking it, not loving what you do, and then go into it. I mean, some people do. You do come across people like that.
That's
but
right.
Then I think most people work very hard throughout their lives to get to this point. So,
Yes,
just saying,
yes.
Okay. What's your favorite way to relax and unwind after a Wednesday?
Well, as with many lawyers, it would be a glass of wine. Could be red or white. On the couch. What more could you want? Or in the wine bar. Maybe with a bit of dark chocolate after dinner. Yeah.
There you go. And last question. How do you keep the momentum going?
Because I'm a naturally joyful person, and I love my business partner, and I love my team, and I really enjoy helping people. So for me, it's easy because I just want to help more people more often.
Lovely. And Jane, thank you so much for showing up. Well, not let me show up to your office.
You're welcome
Showing
anytime,
up,
Arthur.
showing up. What's wrong with me? Now, before we go, can you tell our audience how can they find you? How can they find out more about what you do?
Yes. Okay. So I used to say, when in the days when I used to go to a networking group, my catch line was, if you're in pain in the rain, call Jane. So I think that's appropriate because in the rain, umbrella family law, right? umbrellafamilylaw.com.au. Jump on our website. You'll find the link to email our team. Shoot us an email. We're here for you, or you can email me directly, jane@umbrellafamilylaw.com.au.
And I really enjoy that on the website. They have a really good blog with articles explaining what different segments of family
Each
law
component,
is.
precisely.
So
yes.
it's like one can even see it as a bit of a learning resources. It's not like you're going to the umbrella family law website means that you're in trouble of anything.
No.
Sometimes it's just really learning something new,
Absolutely.
getting to understand.
A safe place to land.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are lots of different articles about like pet custody and other topics that you guys go into it.
And actually that just is a good springboard to say, don't feel that contacting a family lawyer has to mean that suddenly you're creating a fight. It just means that you're giving yourself some information to empower yourself for moving forward in whatever that looks like. Doesn't mean that suddenly the gloves are on, because particularly when you come here, that's not the case.
No, I mean, it's like there's way too many TV shows and movies portraying that stigma. That idea is like, no, sometimes you're really thinking about solutions.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, actually, just out of curiosity, I mean, this is not part of the question. I can cut it out if you want. But are there any possible cases that they actually like reconcile?
Oh, absolutely.
Get back together.
Yes.
As they were going through that.
And often I think that very much depends on the kinds of lawyers that people see. But we always encourage people and ask them, to tell us because we say, tell us your story. We sometimes get to hear about what led to the separation. And one of the things that we do is ask people if they're sure that it's over and if they've considered seeing a therapist. Sometimes that does lead to them reconciling. We're all for that.
There you go.
As I say, it's a safe place to discuss your relationship, whatever that leads to, and it doesn't have to be a scary conversation. Yeah.
That's why the parallel universe Jane is a psychologist.
Precisely.
There you go.
Nice tie-in.
There you go. Yes. Oh gosh, imagine if you meet that Jane. Well, first you'll be constantly drunk because you guys will be like talking to each other, have a glass of wine, and just kind of.
It would be like talking to you. There'd be so much to say.
Wait, let me find a wig. I just gotta put on a wig, and I was like, I'm the alternative Jane.
Oh man.
Anyway, but thank you so much for this, and of course that if you want to get to know more about Jane and Umbrella Family Law, please head to their website. The information is on the show notes and all of the contact detail. Thank you so much once again, and let's keep on getting chatty about your local businesses.
Thanks, Arthur. Bye, everyone.
Bye. A shout out to Jane and Jonty, one of Umbrella's associates. We met at the LGBT plus networking event Globe, and I want to spotlight a few things that I noticed that show me that they're good allies. I like that they're committed to inclusivity and client safety and make sure that everyone feels support, understood, and safe, regardless of who they are. The team has undergone trainings with Equality Network to understand the complexity and terminologies of the community. And I think it would be essential input to provide empathetic and community-appropriate support. In addition to legal services, they understood the emotional and practical issues that comes with needing legal advice, and on top of any other unique challenges that LGBT plus community may face. When the rain comes, we can all use a good umbrella. I want to thank Jane again, and let's note that contacting a family lawyer, it's about empowering yourself with information, not necessarily starting a fight. I don't have a pet, but I'm learning something new by chatting with Jane. It's by sharing stories, sharing information, we can help lift our community up. Thank you for listening. and I look forward to sharing the next episode with you. Get Chatty About Your Local Businesses podcast is produced by me, Arthur, the Chatty Curator. Thanks for your company. I hope you enjoyed this episode, learn something new, or pick up something helpful to realize your aspirations. The podcast guests are making time and appeared in kind, so please consider supporting the podcast by supporting them. Head over to their socials and website on the show note, like or share on social media, or tag a friend about it. Or send them the episode's dedicated page on chattycurator.com, a spot where you can listen to all of the episodes without a Spotify or YouTube Music account. Until the next episode, let's keep on getting chatty about your local businesses.